Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. Again, my name is Jeffrey Davis, and we continue to stream stories in 2025. Hard to believe, of leadership, entrepreneurship, and how people are building their businesses in today's world. There's going to be a lot of changes this year. So these entrepreneurs, they've got to be ready to strategize and pivot. Our next guest is Nicole Spiegel-Gotsch, founder and CEO of HelloMavyn. Well, hello, Maven.
Hello, Jeffrey. Thanks for having me.
Well, tell us about Hello Maven.
Sure. So the short version is Hello Maven is on a mission to help women succeed, specifically underrepresented and marginalized female founders. So we're here to help them build, launch, and grow through a combination of strategic consulting and coaching.
Interesting. Tell us about your history and how you got to this point. I've done a lot of leadership coaching of women over the years, and I've had to go against some stereotypes to get that done, but it's been a very important part of my career. So I'm very interested to hear from you.
Well, I love that you've done that because I think we need more men involved in this too. But yeah, my path is sort of a circuitous one. I started at a new media nonprofit during the first tech boom of the 90s. And I was sitting in on venture capital breakfast and angel investor breakfast. I had been an intern in their program, and then I was hired to run the program a year later. I doubled its size, created revenue streams for it, got it grant funding. And was having a blast. I love the startup energy, but I had always wanted a creative career. So I took a left turn and went into my creative career for about 7.5 years. But I missed that startup energy. I missed the innovation. So I launched my own business that I had for about 13.5 years. It was a one-woman creative shop that did a little bit of everything, including strategy. And over the years, I came to realize that what my clients really valued the most was and needed the most was the strategy component. There was a lot of activity, but not a lot of business thinking necessarily underpinning the activity, and not necessarily seeing where their targets were or even identifying the targets in advance. So that, coupled with the fact that I've always wanted to be an advocate for women, my capstone thesis was on barriers to women's entrepreneurship at NYU. It was a 30-year literature review, qualitative plus quantitative interviews and focus groups that identified 14 distinct barriers that persist today. And so I'm intimately familiar that with each of these barriers, and that it requires more than just leaning in to overcome them.
I don't even know where to start because I would say the most institutionalized stereotypes, I'm going to try to be safe with it, I find day to day in organizations are around women. And it's so, as you say, it's so ingrained in the thought process, and trying to break down a lifetime of perceptions and habits is very difficult. Do you find it easier sometimes to just tell women, go out on your own, make your own path, be leaders?
Yes, absolutely. I think that that's a big part of it. If there isn't a seat for you at the table, make one, pull up a chair. If the to go where you can get your foot in the door. So sometimes I find women are kind of trying to swim upstream in organizations that, yes, they may be able to break down those barriers, but it's going to take so much effort that it's almost better, you're almost better off either going out on your own and making your own path, or finding organizations that are just more inherently receptive. And I understand that that has its own difficulties. So for example, a lot of the women, when I did my research, who had gone into entrepreneurship, went into entrepreneurship for exactly that reason, that they couldn't get the professional development or sort of the career development that they wanted in-house in a corporate setting. But then they would go out on their own to become entrepreneurs and find that they'd hit some of those same barriers when it came to fundraising or access to capital or getting investment. So you do still have some things that you have to navigate. Uh, it's a little.
Well, I have found that let's assume that I'm colorblind, which I'm not. I mean, I don't think anybody is 100%. I think it's a good ambition. This is typical of all entrepreneurs who try to work up in organizations. This, regardless of gender or color or whatever it is, ethnicity, height, age, that when people are not fulfilling their potential or their ambitions, sometimes you can't do it in a predetermined structure that's going to hold you down. You have to go out and do it on your own. And that becomes more of a psychological, how do I take that risk? How do I build that platform? And I think it's good that you found a niche that you can do that with.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny what you're saying about the risk and the psychology of it. I'm always amazed and impressed by how much risk, I don't even necessarily consider it a risk, just how bold these founders are, these women are. They're really usually I work with mission-driven founders who are innovating in a social impact space.
Nice.
So the work, is heart-led. So they almost don't, the risk doesn't almost doesn't completely register. It's just more the day-to-day challenges of how do I get from point A to point B, you know?
Did you experience that yourself in your own career on the way up?
I would say that I think that early experience of not knowing what I didn't know, like I didn't know enough to be afraid. I took on a lot of responsibility very early in my career. I was only 20 something and I had a P&L responsibility for this program. I was so excited about the potential impact it could have and that I was growing it, that it didn't occur to me to be nervous about the risk or think about it, what if it fails? I think as I've gotten older and more seasoned, I'm more aware of that, actually.
And while you did that, you built confidence in your own skills, which is what you find with other people that we coach, that it's a building process of confidence, correct?
For sure. And a lot of it is trial by fire, or sometimes it's trial by fire. That might not be the ideal situation, and I think having a certain amount of curiosity in your approach to what you're doing helps. It really helps sort of quell a little bit of the doubt or any kind of negative thoughts you've got going on in the background of your mind.
Right. We've been speaking with Nicole Spiegel-Gotsch, founder and CEO of HelloMavyn. Nicole, if somebody wants to know more about HelloMavyn and how you help these people to sort of reach heights that they would like to reach, that maybe they've been blocked or for whatever reason, how do they find you?
Sure. They can find me at my website, hellomavyn.com. It's Maven with a Y, so it's HelloMavyn.com. And I'm offering a free strategy session. So they can hit the link and have a free 30-minute strategy session to see if we click. And even if they don't want to go forward, people always tell me they walk away with lots of good ideas to bring back to their business.
That's good. Click it and find out. I think that's pretty easy. And I appreciate your being on the show today. It's nice getting to know you and remind all our listeners this is Radio Entrepreneurs.